Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Mr. Harvey here. Let's get started with Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is an incredibly important chapter for us, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going to be talking about a lot of important topics for our class, for AP European History, but also many topics that could potentially show up on the AP exam. We're going to be talking about the Dutch, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about the English, the rise of a constitutional monarchy in England, the English Civil War. We're going to be discussing absolutism on the continent with the French, Louis XIV. We're going to meet the Prussians, and we're also going to be meeting a major power in the East, the Russians. So let's start with the Dutch, ladies and gentlemen, and let's kind of start off with this Dutch Golden Age. Okay. All right. So when we last left off in Chapter 4, when we were talking about the 30 Years' War, something really important happened for the Netherlands. Okay. The Dutch were officially recognized as a country with that Treaty of Westphalia. All right, and we talked about in Chapter 4 the Netherlands, this Netherlands territory, these Low Countries extensively. Especially we were talking about that revolt of the Netherlands. Okay, so the Netherlands is going to be an important player for us, ladies and gentlemen, in the late 1500s and during the 1600s. Okay, and what I mean by the Netherlands right now, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm talking about the Northern Netherlands, those united provinces that freed themselves of Spanish control, and the Southern Netherlands. Okay, that's still going to be under Spanish control, and for today we're going to be focusing really on the United Provinces, the North. But it's important for us to also understand the Southern Netherlands. That's going to become modern Belgium. Okay, so we're really focused on this Netherlands territory, the Low Countries. Okay, this Netherlands territory. All right, let's move on. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the 1600s, okay, or the 17th century is going to be really important for the Dutch and for the Northern Netherlands. Okay, remember, the United those provinces in the north became the United Provinces of the Netherlands. After their revolt against Spain, they gained their freedom against Spain, and they were officially recognized as a country during the Treaty of Westphalia. Now, it's important for us to understand that the Northern Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, are going to be really important for us politically, economically, and socially. They're a tolerant country, Protestant country, going to be very to a certain extent to other religious groups. They're going to have progressive ideas economically, and we're going to see the Netherlands become an important economic force. Are they going to be a dominant economic force? Not on the level that we'll see with the English and some of our other countries, but they will still be a powerful economic player within the world. And we're going to see they're going to experience this golden age of thinking, of art, of ideas, and the Netherlands is going to be quite a progressive country, and we're going to see a lot of change, and we're going to see a lot of influence come out of the Netherlands. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, let's focus on their politics first. All right, they have some really unique, a really unique political system that the rest of Europe really isn't going to have, and that this is kind of showcasing their acceptance to new ideas. This really kind of melds with their Protestant ideologies, right? That they're having new ideas when it comes to religion. Well, they're going to accept new ideas when it comes to politics as well. So let's talk about it. All right, the Northern Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, were a republic, and that's really unique within the context of Europe, where we see absolutisms, we see monarchs. Eventually, we'll see England, have a constitutional monarchy and put rules on monarchs. But the Netherlands, early on, are really going to stand out for having this republic type system of government that is, that does not, include a monarchy. All right. So let me talk about a little bit how their government was constructed. There was a central kind of like federal government called a States General, and each province within the Northern Netherlands are going to send a representative to that States General. All right. Each province, and the way I kind of think about the Netherlands, is almost like the United States, where we have states within the United States, California, Nevada, okay, and we send representatives from our states, like senators, congressmen, and women, to represent us in the federal government. It's kind of like the same thing, okay? Well, the same idea, all right? Each province, okay, each kind of little state is going to have a considerable amount of authority and independence from this federal central States General government. And the person who would represent each province was called a stadtholder. And the province would elect that stadtholder, and he was kind of like a governor, okay, a governor of the province. All right. The central government would, negotiate with the provinces. The stadtholders would get together, and you would see that they would negotiate economic policy, religious policy, laws, legislation. They would negotiate. Okay, and this is different from what we see. It's not just one person, a monarch, making all the decisions. We're seeing a negotiation. Okay, now are we seeing democracy? Not necessarily. And I want y'all to be careful about using that word, because democracy implies people being able to pick their rulers. It's not a truly democratic system, but this is a representative system. Okay, we're gonna be talking more about governments changing in kind of early democracies a little bit later, all right, and what democracy kind of means and the development of that. But this is definitely not necessarily a democracy. Okay, so be careful about that. All right. The most powerful provinces within the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, were Holland and Zeeland. All right. But something important to understand is that when the Netherlands had stressful times, or when they were threatened, they would, and we've talked about this before, the Dutch would permit the House of Orange, and we talked about in chapter 4, William of Orange, who belonged to this house, to assume a dominant leadership within the government. And we'll see that the Netherlands are going to put a lot of faith within this family, who are going to be really important for keeping the stability of the Netherlands and keeping the Netherlands safe. So that's just kind of a little asterisk, a little a little caveat to understand, is that they had this representative system, but if things got really bad, we would see the House Orange not necessarily take over in like a dictatorship, but they would have a lot of influence within the government. Okay, let's move on. So this is kind of just a little graph on how the political system of the Netherlands works. So you had the provinces, which virtually held all the power, and had a lot of local independence. They would elect the stadtholder, okay, who was the representative for the province, and then they would negotiate together with the States General, this Federal Assembly, on issues. And so this was an early representative type of government. And we're going to see this eventually other countries adopt this. All right, we're going to see the rise of Parliament in the United Kingdom. We're going to see the American Revolution, eventually the development of the American Republic. So we're gonna see this, but this is really unique in Europe, as many other governments do not have this yet. All right, let's move on. All right, let's talk about the Dutch on a social and religious level. All right, they were a prosperous country, and we're going to talk about the specifics with their economics a little bit later. But generally, they had higher salaries than other parts of Western Europe. Even women are going to be making more money in the Netherlands, okay? And that's due to kind of, again, remember, we talked about this with Protestant ideologies, new ideas concerning religion, new ideas concerning gender and gender norms. Now, am I talking complete equality? No, absolutely not. And that's not something that we're going to be seeing for quite some time. But women during this time tended to have a little bit more economic opportunity, and had a better economic situation than in other areas of Europe. And the Netherlands during this time, ladies and gentlemen, had the highest standard of living in Europe. They were very well off, and we're going to be talking about specifically why. Their economy is going to be very, very powerful. Something important to understand about the Netherlands is they were a religiously tolerant area. And this is going to be super important, ladies and gentlemen, for them on a political, social, and economic level. Remember, they were a Protestant. This is a Protestant country who was, forced to fight for their freedoms from the Spanish. And we're going to see numerous Protestant groups, numerous other religious minorities go to the Netherlands because they will be accepted. And this is important because we talked earlier about the Spanish brain drain, and with the Spanish Inquisition of the Spanish really, not not allowing any other groups other than Catholics to kind of stay in Spain, and this is going to lead to drastic effects, negative effects in Spain. Well, where do you think a lot of these people are going to go? The Jews, Muslim groups, and Protestants. Okay, well, they're going to be going to areas of where they're accepted. And one area that was accepting to other religious minorities was the Netherlands. And so you're going to see Protestants, Jews, Muslims be bringing their money, their talents, their skills to the Netherlands, and that's going to have a dramatic effect on the economy. And it's going to have a dramatic effect in the Netherlands, and we're going to see the Netherlands prosper from that. All right. So the Netherlands predominantly Calvinist, but there are other religious groups there. All right, and it's because they were not, they were not forced to convert, or they were not put in jail. Or, there was religious toleration in the Netherlands. Okay, they're not really like their kind of dominant religion was this Calvinist Reformed Church. Okay, it was their official church, but not necessarily like a full-on established an establishment just yet. All right, but it was a haven for Jews, or Arminians. Those are Calvinists without the belief of predestination. It was a haven for religious minorities, ladies and gentlemen, and that's important for us to know. Okay, and people are gonna, if they feel unsafe, they feel like they're being persecuted, they will go to the Netherlands. All right, and the Netherlands will benefit from that. Because people are going to be bringing their money, their skills, their talent, their hard work, and they'll feel safe and secure. And the Netherlands will really provide that for people. All right, and here's a view and a picture of the Netherlands. Just a beautiful, beautiful country, full of waterways, and we're going to see that play a role within their economy because they're going to become quite a mercantile trading empire with a large fleet. All right, another picture, the interior of a Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam. I mean, look at that, a Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam, a synagogue for Jews, all right, feeling safe, being able to practice their religion in the Netherlands free of persecution. An important thing, and you're going to see large groups of people go to the Netherlands. All right, Portrait of an Old Jewish Man by Rembrandt. Again, showing that religious toleration is super important for the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen. Very important for them. Let's move on. All right, here's some upper class homes in Amsterdam from the 1600s. Very, very, very prosperous country. People are going to be doing very well there. We'll talk about why. All right, very famous painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earring. And this painting is one of my favorites. We actually made one of our class t-shirts with this picture. But I mean, showing the prosperity. I mean, this girl walking around with a pearl in her earring, an everyday average citizen being able to afford that, being able to have that luxurious item, showing that the Netherlands is quite wealthy and doing very well. Let's move on. All right, let's talk about this economy that I've been alluding to for a little bit. The Dutch economy is quite a powerhouse. Now, is it going to be on the level that we're going to see with England, some of the other countries? No, okay, but they're still going to be very, very, very prosperous in specific areas, okay? And they'll dominate certain areas economically within Europe, all right? The Netherlands is going to amaze Europe with its very strong economy, all right? And it's going to become the greatest mercantile nation of the 1600s. Eventually, England will take that dominant leadership role, and the Netherlands will be fine with that, all right? Because the Netherlands is going to realize that, hey, we're not going to be able to compete with some of these bigger nations that are more powerful than us. They're going to be quite okay with kind of settling back into a secondary role while England, France, Prussia, Russia are going to fight for dominance. But the Dutch will still be doing quite well, all right? We're going to see Amsterdam become a banking and commercial center of Europe and really just symbolize the economic might, ingenuity, and skill of the Netherlands. And one of the things that the Netherlands is going to do is become a banking center. They are going to become a just dominant institution of banking. And one of the things they did was they offered really low interest rates. Okay, so let me give you kind of an example about how this works. Say that you deposit or you take a loan from a bank, like $100. Okay, so you take $100 out of a bank, and you owe that bank $100. All right. Well, the Netherlands would charge you a really low interest rate on that loan. So, for example, other countries might charge you 50%. And I'm just kind of using a number to give you an example. All right, so that means that you have to pay the bank back, $150. Well, the Netherlands might charge you just 1%, just $1. So where are more people going to be doing their banking with? The Netherlands. And so kind of their and that means that, you only owe the Netherlands, $101 as opposed to $150 in another country. What the Netherlands idea is they won't make as much money with those low interest rates as other banks, but they will attract more customers. And that's the idea, is you're going to see more and more people wanting to do business banking with those banking groups in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, because of those low interest rates. And so they're going to have quite a market for banking. People are going to want to bank with them because they can save money. And so they're going to become quite a banking power within Europe. Okay, and that's an ingenious concept of these low interest rates. All right. They are going to be exporting lots of goods like diamonds, linens, pottery, but they relied on commerce because the Netherlands is quite small. It doesn't have a lot of natural resources. Okay, so they're going to rely on trade. Okay, and they're going to have actually the world's largest trading fleet. Okay, dedicated to trade. All right, and their ports are going to become really an epicenter of European trade, and really illustrate, ladies and gentlemen, this transition from that Mediterranean economy that I was talking about earlier, with the Renaissance, Middle Ages, right? We know that trade really centered around the Mediterranean. Well, this is kind of illustrating that change. We're seeing this Atlantic economy, and what ocean is the Netherlands right on? Well, its gateway is the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. It has the North Sea right there, but that obviously goes into the Atlantic Ocean. So we're going to see the Netherlands become a new epicenter of European trade. They're going to dominate the fish market, a lot of food production. They're going to be dominant shipbuilders. They're going to be really important within the textile industry. We're going to talk about them with the agricultural revolution, but they're going to have this land reclamation project where they're going to, almost build out their country a little bit, fill out their country a little bit, and add land to their country. And we'll talk about that when it comes to agriculture, because they're going to be innovators with the agricultural revolution. But they're really what they were known for, ladies and gentlemen, and the cornerstone of their empire was their international kind of trading empire. And we'll talk about them in Southeast Asia. They're going to have their own kind of colonial influences within Southeast Asia, and that's going to make them a lot of money, and that's going to provide them with a lot of raw materials to sell and market. And let's take a look at that. All right, so the Netherlands, ladies and gentlemen, are going to have just an incredible global network of trade. All right, and one of the areas that was vital to them, ladies and gentlemen, was the East Indies in Southeast Asia, and they're gonna kick the Portuguese out of this area and control portions of Southeast Asia, and make a lot of money off of trade here. Okay, let's talk about it. Okay, now the institution that allowed them to do this was this Dutch East India Company, okay, founded in 1602, and it's going to help. It's going to displace the Portuguese in the East Indies and become, a dominant power within Southeast Asia. We're going to see the Dutch West India Company trading with Latin America and Africa, but these trading groups, these trading businesses are going to be super influential, super powerful, and help the Dutch gain a great deal of natural resources that they can trade, that they can make goods with, and is really going to be vital to this powerful economy that they're going to develop. Now, important to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that they understand that England is next door to them. So are the French. They're right there. All right. They have the HRE right next door to them as well. All right. And they understand also from on a maritime level that they do not have they may have a really large trading fleet, but they do not necessarily have the navy that the English do, and they're very well aware of that. And so they will yield naval superiority to the English. We're going to see them decline a little bit as England and France become more and more powerful. Um, uh, and by the time by 1713, that golden age will definitely stop, and they're not going to be making as much money and as much progress, but they will still be there. They will still be an important player within Europe, and they understood, ladies and gentlemen, this is important. They understood that they're a small nation. They're not going to have the military numbers. They're not going to have the naval might of their neighbors. They understood that very well, and so we're going to see them just kind of fade into a secondary nation and be okay with that. All right, be okay with that. Let's move on. All right, here's a picture of a Dutch East India trading ship. Here's a picture of the Dutch East India fleet returning from trade. Just incredible art. But just look at all those ships. Pretty amazing. All right. A picture of their territory in Southeast Asia. You can see some of the goods, the raw materials that they were after. All right. Picture of their influence in Africa. The impact they had in Africa. And a picture of them interacting with the Japanese. And we have not talked about the Japanese yet, ladies and gentlemen, and we will. But the Dutch will be one of the first countries to be interacting with the Japanese, this island nation in Asia. And we will talk a little bit more about the Japanese. They'll be very important for us as we move on later in history. But the Dutch were interacting with the Japanese as well. And I love Japanese art. Japanese art is beautiful. Okay. And we'll see a Dutch ship trading in Nagasaki. All right, that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And we are going to talk about England in the next lecture. Thank you.